Hey y'all, it's your girl Gemini Jazz, and we are back with another video. And today we are going to be discussing Chiron through all 12 zodiac signs. Okay, so first and foremost, before we dive into all of this good stuff about Chiron, because we have lots of things to discuss when it comes to Chiron. It's such a deep and mysterious energy to kind of navigate. Okay, but before we get into all of that, I'd just like to say thank you for being here. If you are new to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you for being here. I hope things have been going well on your end and all that good stuff. And I don't have any announcements outside of what I always, kind of suggest. But if you are looking to dive more into what we're going to talk about in this video and get readings or more insight individually on your chart, hit the description box below because I have all of my contact information, my website, my social platforms, so on and so forth. And you can access me and all of my services, including my membership, the Celestial City, that is only $33.33 per month, as well as the readings that I have available at this time. Okay, so now let's dive into this video about Chiron in the signs. So Chiron, what is Chiron, right? Chiron is an asteroid, and we all know about that, right? It's an asteroid, it's not a planet, and it's often referred to as the wounded healer, right? Chiron is connected to our deepest wounds, right? The knowledge and also the healing that comes along with that. So, the self healers, we all have that ability to heal ourselves. We all have the ability to know what these wounds and whatnot are stemming from. We just have to tap in. So, Chiron is utilized in astrology to show us where our emotional baggage is, so to speak. So the lesson that Chiron evolves basically is the ways that we recognize and deal with our deepest wounds, right? Or sometimes how we don't deal with our deepest wounds. And a lot of that comes from our earliest encounters with life, with people, our relating experiences, right? Memories and things that are taught to be hidden, right? Because they are basically deemed unpleasant or not good or harmful or painful. And so, therefore, they must then be unacceptable. And so, because of these energies, this is where emotions like guilt and shame, abandonment, low self esteem, low self worth, fears about being rejected, unworthiness, all of these things come into play because of how society deems certain emotions and certain encounters with life to be unacceptable. Now, wherever Chiron falls in our birth chart, preferably by sign, right? First and foremost, you got to recognize the sign, which is why this video is here. So recognize what sign Chiron is, and then you take into account the house placement. Where is Chiron in your house? Like with the first house, second house, eighth house, wherever, because then that gives it a different flavor to what's happening with Chiron being in, just say, Aries, or Chiron in Virgo, so on and so forth. So once you take into account the sign, as well as the house placement, then you have to pay attention to the aspects that it forms with other planets and other houses and whatnot in your chart. So you can recognize by seeing all these things the area in which we feel vulnerable or quote unquote weak, or these things that might really evoke feelings of low self-esteem and low self-worth that we were previously speaking about. Okay, so Chiron's placement, in turn, what it does is it shines a light on our past hurts, our wounds, things, even such as like childhood trauma, all of those experiences, those ill experiences, from previous, things, even maybe in past life type of situations, depending on where it falls in your chart, right? So this is what we like to call emotional baggage, right? So this is what it's doing is shining a light, so to speak, or revealing, how our repeated interactions with others or with the world, excuse me, with the world, so to speak, will provoke our insecurities, and maybe even, what we deem as being failures. So there's also an option, right? This is where that quote unquote free will comes in, because although it's revealing it, we still have to make a choice to see it, right? So that's kind of where that line goes in between that Chiron energy. Chiron's purpose is to make us realize that our weak spots are not feelings that we can erase or disregard, rather than they are something that need to be embraced. They cannot necessarily be denied, right? We cannot just say, this terrible thing that I feel about myself needs to be ignored, because it only amplifies more of that emotion, more of that feeling, right? So let's think of it this way. Take peekaboo, the game peekaboo, for example. Just because you're covering your eyes, it does not mean the person or the thing on the other side of your hand does not exist. You're simply choosing not to see it. So that's the way that we can see Chiron. Chiron gives us an opportunity to recognize that there's something still on the other side of what we can't see. We have to literally just make the choice to pull our hands down and say, I see this for what this is. Now, what are we going to do about it? Facing your fears, facing those insecurities and those feelings of guilt and shame and whatnot. Okay, so if we forget the experience, right, this is how we think. If we forget the experience itself, then our bodies and minds will forget it also. No, that's not the truth, right? Our bodies and minds will still contain that feeling, right, as a sensory or a trace memory. And if you have not read the book, The Body Holds the Number, it goes into more detail about this on a psychological aspect of things. Okay. So now, how do we use Chiron for our growth and our gain? Right. So all these feelings of shame and guilt and all these low vibrational emotions that we're speaking about, right? But how can we in turn transmute that energy and turn the pain into purpose, right? And making that purpose, or making that all of that lucrative for us and even pleasurable, right? So Chiron's cycle of reoccurrence, basically, Chiron, what it does in turn, it creates these situations, right, in life, these circumstances in life that's going to trigger us. But in turn, the reward comes from Chiron when we learn to integrate our painful experiences, allowing these triggers to invite us to navigate why we're being triggered, where this is stemming from, how can we grow through this, right? And integrate these experiences as a part of our identities, right? So this is turning that pain into purpose and also pleasure. Right. So, but keep in mind that as long as we continue to view these imperfections that need to be removed or purged from us, then we'll continue to see them as flaws in others as well as ourselves, right? Because it's all about mirroring. Every situation and every person in our life is mirroring some aspect of ourselves, right? So, this is going to continue to impact our capacity for relationships and mutual understanding of others if we continue to see Chiron, or continue to see our wounds or these feelings that we have, our insecurities, as flaws, so to speak, okay, instead of using them to empower us to actually help heal other people. So now, without further ado, let's start navigating Chiron through the signs. Hey y'all, so this video is going to go over Chiron in the sign of Gemini. So with Chiron in Gemini, people with this placement typically have issues with their speech in early childhood, or even public speaking, or just kind of speaking in general. You might find them tripping over their words, or what they're thinking does not necessarily come out, or they're thinking, what they are saying quicker than what their mouth can actually catch up with. I have this placement. So this placement also can create anxiety and obsessive mental energy. And so you will obsess about, what you're saying, how you look, how people are seeing you, things of that nature, because, Gemini also is the ruler of like our perceptions and ideas and communication. So it's ruled by Mercury. So also pay attention to where Mercury is in your chart, and this will kind of give you an indication of, how it's also playing a part with this energy as well. Chiron in Gemini, the wound has an imbalance between the rational mind and intuition. So people with this placement, they typically try to, or they always seem to kind of go with logic or rationality versus trusting their gut and trusting, their intuition. They don't have that ability to trust that they know what they're talking about, or they know what they're feeling, or they know the decision that they're making is the right one. So also this can manifest in a fear of being judged about your opinions or your thoughts. So you will find these people suppressing their voice and not speaking, or being quiet, being very meek. And also not feeling seen or heard at all. So you will see these people typically are the ones that kind of choose to be in the background, but they have the most profound things to say. They have the best ideas. And their voice is very beneficial when they're actually tapping in to use it. So people with this placement can heal by clearing their mind of the negative self-talk through reshaping those narratives in their subconscious. So finding their truth by sharing their thoughts without fear or judgment, starting off writing it down, journaling, doing their poetry, expressing themselves to themselves first. That's also something that they could help, or that could help them build the confidence with speaking. Also just facing their fears. I can say for myself personally that speaking publicly and talking to you all in videos is one of my biggest fears, but I do it all the time because it's just helping me be able to speak clearly and concisely, and also building that confidence in myself that I have things that people actually want to hear. So these people heal themselves by helping others find their truth and their voice also. So you will find these people being motivational speakers, teachers, mentors, things of that nature, also life coaches. That's another thing that they can do. So also, with Chiron in Gemini, the wound is the ability, or it's associated with the ability to communicate, make yourself heard and seen. And so that can manifest in feeling unable to communicate clearly with others or fit in socially. So that's that social awkwardness, feeling like you are quote unquote stupid or uneducated, or you see others as being smarter than you or superior. And so you will keep things to yourself because you don't want to sound or come off as if you don't know what you're talking about. This is that imposter syndrome also. So you might find it hard to believe in your ideas if you have Chiron and Gemini, even your thoughts or the gifts and talents that you have. People with Chiron and Gemini have a tendency to put themselves down, because they don't see themselves as being intelligent, but also this could manifest, excuse me, manifest in the opposite, where they put other people down because that's how they see themselves. They put other people down for being intelligent or articulate in their words, and they can't necessarily get their words out. So then, in turn, what they do is they mimic or they mock other people or put other people down who they see to have that ability that they desire. Also, you will see these people have a tendency to gossip and gather information in order to boost their self-esteem. That's that wound also, just kind of like just chit-chattering and talking about other people. Also, you will see this manifest in others, hiding their knowledge and their skills due to shame or fear or guilt, because somewhere in their childhood, they either were not heard or not seen. Every time they did speak, they were told to be quiet. Um, are told that they, weren't smart enough for whatever reason. They weren't recognized for their, intellectual talents, whether it was through writing or speaking or however, maybe even singing, right? Because the Gemini, it rules the voice. So maybe even singing, something along those lines. Um, Also, they have, they hide their skills and things because they have a fear of, um, you know, somehow they have like this fear where like they don't really think that they know, right? So it's like this constant shame or this constant guilt. And also possibly somewhere down the line, they could have even come into counter with people shame them for being smart or speaking. So it's like, oh, you think you're so smart, or you think that you're this or that or whatever. So that also could shape that wound from childhood. Also, they have that fear of being compared to others. So that is also a wound that can trigger or can be triggering for them. Um, people with Chiron and Gemini, the healing journey involves a lot to do with learning to speak your truth, right? And also, your gift is to share your unique perspective and your voice with others, right? So once you have gotten through to be able to actually speak your truth, and doing so with confidence, the gift that comes is that you get to do exactly what you are designed to do, which is sharing your perspective with others and helping others learn, right? So then you become this teacher. Also, you'll stop worrying about what other people think, and you will turn inwards, right? To kind of fine tune your intuition and being able to trust your inner voice, right? So it's more so about trusting the inner voice and having confidence with the voice on the inside rather than focusing on what you're hearing on the outside. This is also going to help people with Chiron and Gemini to recognize their unique genius. And being able to utilize that at their will, and finding their particular area of expertise and understanding their own voice also. So another thing with Chiron and Gemini is that this placement, the people with this placement need to recognize and embrace their intelligence in whatever form it takes, however it manifests, right? So on another level, this may have medium, like, psychic medium or prophetic gifts. You might be able to express yourself better through nonverbal means of communication instead, like art, music, dance, those types of things. Maybe even just writing what you have to say. Like I mentioned before, poetry. Your writing skills might be really impeccable. People with Chiron and Gemini can really write. Also, um, you can also express emotions and feelings very clearly in your words, more than most, because you have that wound of always keeping it internal. So you process, excuse me, you process. So being able to articulate what you're feeling clearly is also a gift that Chiron and Gemini has. And you also might be able to give expression to other dimensions of reality, like being able to express, the multiverse, so to speak, or metaphysics of things and whatnot like that. Being able to put it in words that where people can actually understand it in like layman's terms. So also, these people have creative minds. They are engulfed with like rich brilliance, and they have original thought and original ideas. And this also is what help others heal. So they can use this originality, and they can use their words and these gifts, their brilliance, their creative mind to help others heal. Okay. So that is all that I have for you for Chiron in Gemini. And so I hope this has been helpful. And if you are looking to navigate your Chiron placement a little deeper, feel free to hit the description box and journey on over to my website where you can book a reading, you can join the membership, and you can buy Reiki infused candles. Yes, so make sure you like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. Have a wonderful